welcome, all my beautiful people. It is your host of this YouTube channel, Mr. High Noon Crypto himself, back at it to give you another great episode. Hopefully, y'all find these videos I'm making good, informative, entertaining, I guess. Um, but this episode today, I think that you people will like this a lot. This episode, as you can see by the thumbnail, is about PulseX. And yes, it is a hopium based video, at least in my opinion. So we haven't had no real hopium videos in a minute. Of course, we know crypto is slow. Post chain is, you know, well overdue, depending on who you're talking to. We're actually coming up on the year of the start of the sacrifice period. Now that I'm looking at the date, so hey, happy year anniversary. We're sticking through it, but good things come to those who wait. So we're gonna keep on waiting, but a little hopium ain't never a bad thing. So this is a PulseX hopium video, but not the usual kind of hopium. I'm not finna go K4K. I'm not finna break down numbers and get you excited by buy and burns. We already did that. This is about the intangibles versus the tangible things. The things that I think about when I think about this decentralized exchange that is being built on top of the Pulse chain, and just what it can accomplish, what it can mean and be and provide for everybody as we enter into um, the Pulse chain release and thereafter. So, first thing I want to talk about why do we think the Pulse chain could quote unquote break the mold? We know all the numbers. We know what the average layer 1 does. We know what the average layer 2 does. And by the numbers, it tells you that you will win harder by investing in layer 1s versus DEXs. Well, that is true so far. And I'm not saying that PulseX will outperform PulseChain either. But we got to keep something in mind here. Things are meant to um, surpass the previous iteration of those things. When you're an innovator, you never want to innovate and then the product is worse than it was before. That makes sense. Like if Richard Hart was a car, builder, he wouldn't make a new car and then it's worse than the car in which he borrowed a lot of the concepts from. That doesn't make sense. Now, whether that kind of logic plays out in theory or reality is yet to be seen. But I think Richard Hart, he is he's what they would call a crafty veteran when it comes to these kind of things. He's real crafty when it comes to coming up with ideas and concepts that get people really excited. And I think that the reason why there was a large amount of money that was sacrificed for PulseX minus versus PulseChain, excuse me, is one, obviously more people knew about PulseX than they did PulseChain. That's the easy kill. But the second thing is that Richard always talks about these things being easier to understand than the previous thing. So he says that, the reason that PulseChain chat room or Telegram is bigger than Hex is because PulseChain is a lot easier to understand than Hex. And I truly believe that PulseX is a lot easier to understand than PulseChain. I onboarded about 30 people into crypto for PulseX. Actually, I was getting them ready for PulseChain to try to get them spun up so when it launches and then PulseX happens, so they inadvertently got exposed to PulseX because of that. And I can tell you that mass majority of them was like, yeah, that's easy to understand, just breaking it down. The actual exchange itself. Like, okay, yeah, I can go buy and sell here. Each buy, there's part of it to get burnt forever. It's a pretty simple concept to understand. They understand that the supply and demand is the supply goes down, it becomes theoretically more scarce, which means theoretically the price should increase. They understand that the constant buy pressure of a buy and burn. So these things lend towards it having more, um, not necessarily exposure, but it has more. I think you can get more people into it because it is easier to comprehend or whatnot, if that makes sense. Whenever you're building a product, whenever you're doing anything business wise, it's not about coming out with a product that you want. It's about coming out with a product that the masses will want. Now, obviously, if you're trying to come out with like some nuclear fusion or fission type of shit, then that analogy doesn't apply. But say you're coming out with a new TV. You're not gonna like, well, I want this and that and the third in the TV, and you're like, hey, sir, people don't want TVs that are built like that. No, you need to bend the knee to the crowd. And I think that especially with the addition of a few more things I'm gonna get into later, Richard Hart really struck gold when he started innovating, PulseX entirely. So far I've talked about PulseX as if it's kind of its own standalone product. And it is because it has a coin bootstrap to it. Richard Hart always says this. People love coins bootstrapped to things. They just do well. So why not bootstrap a coin to an exchange? Which I mean, realistically, do bootstrapping a coin to an exchange make any sense? Like if we're being real, it doesn't. So you have to kind of give it a purpose for being there, and he did that. He turned an exchange into a to an actual product. Now, normally, if you think about Uniswap pre the token, you think about if you were in crypto long enough before exchanges had tokens, they were just a means of getting in and out of coins and providing liquidity and stuff. And then as innovation grew, you start to see the things such as the staking or whatnot, um, with having the actual coins, and even with Pancake Swap doing the lotteries and things, it gives you a more interaction. Now let's get into some of the things, some of the innovations, why I think that this coin is going to have a lot of traction or whatnot. And then we got to remember that buying and selling of the coin contributes to the price because of the buy and burn. So you have to get people interested into it to therefore get them to move their coins around to get these things to go up in price, at least indirectly through the buy and burn. So the first thing Richard did was that and this is like the biggest thing. I'm gonna start off with the biggest thing, at least in my opinion. He separated the coin. He separated the coin. Now, what do you mean? Pancake swap, the coin inflates in cake token. When you stake it, I want to say if you're providing liquidity, you can get paid in cake. So it keeps the supply going up. So we talk about how deflationary is good, but let's think about this for a second. I literally had to give Richard a round of applause when he said that the tokens will be split into two tokens. You get paid in the token since the supply is capped, and then you stake your normal PulseX, you're not getting paid in PulseX. You're not getting it. It's not inflating. Now, inflation in tokens is not a bad thing. Bitcoin inflates, X inflates, Ethereum inflates. They're not bad things. But the common person, and we got to remember this, and this is going to sound kind of harsh, but most of the people we're dealing with have no clue about how they don't have a clue about economics. They don't have a clue about money. They don't have a clue about a lot of these things. This is a large majority of the people. We're just financially illiterate. We don't understand what makes things, what makes the prices move up and down. You can see that. Just go on Twitter. You can see that every day that the majority of people don't really have any core concept of these things. So he splits the token. PulseX will not inflate. So the people who just automatically think inflation is bad, they're like, oh yeah, it never inflates. I got to get into this because it only deflates through a buy and burn. But the real genius part was creating an incentive token that hasn't, of course, never been talked about much, but we know it's there, that is made as a token just for you to dump. He created a process to where the token that he wants people to have is good to go, and you will you can earn rewards in a token that you can just flat out dump with no consequences. Now, besides just having a token that you can dump with no consequences that you really don't lose anything from, we also know through history of cryptocurrencies that people love to buy tokens that are made to be dumped. I mean, that's just what they do. They love to do that because they think like, well, oh look how hard it's dumping. I could get like 100 billion for $1,000, and if this is the logic. I'm telling you, people, this is the logic. This is all psychological. It's not even the K4K numbers and stuff like that. It's all psychological. How Richard is playing this, and this is what makes it. This is what makes PulseX just gets me. It gets me like wow, like oh wow, he's really tapping into the inner psychology of the regular person, because the regular person, not us who live crypto, who got four different wallets and hardwares and treasures, and we're reading, we're researching, we're tuned in. It's really the people that the Johnny come latelys that's going to pump these bags. Like, let's be real. Like, we're in PulseX, Pulse Chain, at the sacrifice level, and it's going to be the people that come lately that's going to pump our bags, and they're going to come, they're going to see all these things, and they're like, oh wow, these are great tokenomics, right? So a token that you can just dump with no emotions are tied to it, and then people are going to be buying that token too. So, and of course, we know every buy and sell contributes to the PulseX buy. So that's like the biggest innovation to me. That when I was first, when Richard was first talking about these things, I'm like, wow, that was a great idea. He really like hit the nail directly with that one. Now, the second thing, at least in my opinion, and these are all my opinions about the why I think these things are going to do really well. The second thing he did was that he copied pancake swaps. Now, I want y'all to think about this for a minute, okay? He didn't try to come up with his own UI, his own user interface. He didn't come up with like try to recreate the wheel. He went to the user interface that was most popping over the last year or so, which was PancakeSwap. Let's be real. Binance Smart Chain, for all its flaws, when it came, I remember when it first happened. I remember learning how to use the bridge to get over to Binance Smart Chain. I was like, yo, this is so much easier. This is so much faster. It's cooler. People already know how to use it, and therefore he was like, okay, this is probably the most used. Now, don't get me wrong, Uniswap and stuff do the numbers, but if we're talking about just straight users, PancakeSwap is very close to Uniswap, if not more. And I don't have no numbers in front of me. I'm just going off the top of my mind. I'm going off of common sense because obviously, if you got little to no money, you're gonna transact on BNB on the BSC. It's just that simple. So he took their interface and he did it. So if you know how to drive a manual car and you were building a new manual car, would you put the stick shift in the steering column like the really old cars have? No, that wouldn't make any sense because we can. I've lived all over this world. Every damn car I've seen, and even in countries where manual is the preference or it is the standard, essentially, it's all in the center console. And even in a country where the it's right wheel drive, it's still in the same place. So the clutch is still in the same place. They don't switch these things around for a reason because people are used to them. People have familiarity with them. So he didn't like, hey, let's get fancy. Let's come up with our own cool little thing. He was like, no, no, take it straight from there. We'll make little tweaks, nothing too special because people don't like learning new processes. I purposely do not use other chains that I have to build a different wallet other than a MetaMask. That's how lazy and comfortable I am with where I'm at. So why would I want to learn how to use a new exchange that I have to learn from scratch how to use? Crypto is already risky as hell anyway. If you're a noob and you don't have a mentor, let's be real. People mess up all the time. People download, they copy and paste wrong contract addresses and buy coins that ain't real. They send money to people accidentally. How many people have sent money to the wrong address? So you eliminate a lot of the process, the learning curve of trying to not only learn a new blockchain, but learning a new exchange also. And that people really don't talk about that enough because as we all grow in this crypto space, it is very unforgiving. There is no do-overs. I remember one time I accidentally um, interrupted the bridge process going from ETH to BSC, and the money never came through to the BSC side, and I was like sick. It was like $800. And then like 3 days later, I guess the bridge timed out and sent the money back. I was like, oh, thank God. Whew, dodged a bullet on that one. So you want to try to get people in as easily as possible. You don't want people having to try to figure out new complicated processes on their own. That's the main reason why when he always talks about, oh, you just point your MetaMask to a different thing, he doesn't even go to the point that says where you have to go type these things in. He said, we're going to make it to where you just click a button to switch the networks, which has become the norm because when we first started using different chains, at least when I first started using different chains, you had to go and type all that stuff into your MetaMask. And like I said, if you ain't got no mentor, that's a hell of a it's because it's new, it's it's scary, you know? And we have to remember that there's only really a small amount of people in crypto compared to the world, the masses. And so when you're trying to bring more people, because that is the goal, to bring adoption, to bring users, You don't want to make things overly complicated. And there is some crypto that is overly complicated. I think about when folks be saying the hex really doesn't do much. All you do is buy it and stake it. And Richard's like, yeah, that's it. What do you want it to do? You want it to, go out and solve string theory or something like that? Like, it doesn't need to be this complicated. Y'all making it seem. Is it safe? Is it secure? Is it reliable? Does it work? Is it fast? That's all you really need. You need a little tweaks here and there. So that was another tweak that he did, by using the same user interface. And in the grander scheme, he kind of did what we used to do if you ever play like NBA 2K or NCAA or Madden. He's building the best player. He took all the greatest attributes from each of the decentralized exchanges that already exist and combined them all into one. It's like they used to have those pictures of like it was like build the perfect quarterback and they'd be like Peyton Manning's mind, Tom Brady's right arm, and it break down each individual part, and that's what he did, that's what he's doing, and it lends to success because the numbers, the coding, and all that stuff is good. I'm not even gonna act like it's not good. It is critical or whatnot, but we also got to remember that I'm just gonna go out on a limb and say 98% of people in crypto don't know how to read no damn code. They wouldn't even they won't even be able to tell you how to go find some coding. I mean, I read the comments a lot. You tell a person to go look at GitLab, it's like telling them to go learn Mandarin, you know? So the easier you make it for people, and I know there's gonna be people here, but you need to learn and stuff like that. Listen, all right, let's be real. Come on, come on, man. There's folks that can't even read at a 10th grade level. You think they about to go learn how to do crypto? Nah, sorry. You better babysit them. You better baby step this for them until they can get to the point where they're comfortable enough to do it on their own. Sorry, that's just how it's gonna have to be. And Richard is doing that. He's doing this in what we call he's doing it in spades, meaning he got a lot of them. He got a lot of things that he's doing to make this process a lot easier for the newbies coming in. Now, truth be told, the last thing, because I like to keep these videos, I try to keep them between 20 and 30 minutes or whatnot, and I don't want to get long winded on y'all. But if I could talk about this for a lot longer. But I truly think that the last thing that we also got to recognize too is that he's going to have a monopoly on the exchanges on post chain for quite a while. Now, the game Monopoly is an interesting game. It I'm just going off the memory here, so don't comment on here and tell me like, oh, well, it came out in 19 whatever, right? But the whole process of the game is why monopolies are illegal in the United States. Because back in the day, you had monopolies and they were able to control the market unfairly because there was no other competition in town. I want to say that it was Franklin Roosevelt or Theodore Roosevelt, yeah, Theodore Roosevelt, excuse me, that broke up monopolies with the back in when he was the president. Um, and monopolies are illegal. You cannot monopolize the competition. You cannot be in what's the word I'm looking for? Like you can't work with other like light companies cannot work together to control the market. They have to be able to. They can't do that. That's illegal. But in crypto, it's perfectly fine. So, what is this monopoly that he has? Well, from my understanding, it's going to be the only liquid exchange on Post Chain, which means that when Pulse Chain is forked, or when Ethereum is forked and it becomes Pulse Chain, and they go and buy up all the liquidity from all the other exchanges that are forked also, means that there is no incentive at all, literally none, for you to go use a Uniswap, to go use a Sushi Swap, to go use any other, a 1inch, a Matcha, any of those exchanges that get copied over. There's no liquidity there. So you won't be able to buy and sell what you want to without crazy slippage. It forces you to come use this product in town. It forces you to come there. It funnels all traffic into a choke point that leads right to PulseX. And what makes that brilliant in my mind is because people they talk about vampire attacks, they talk about all these other things, but they never really are willing to put up the money that's needed to make those things or to ensure that they're the only competition in town. And Richard, through hook or crook, through whether he's using the sacrifice money, whether he's using his own money, it really don't matter to me. Because newsflash, we sacrificed, we gave the money away. If Richard wanted to run off with it, technically he could, because he kind of said, "Hey guys, you do this, don't expect shit." But everybody was just so ready to invest with him that do I think it's gonna happen? Of course not. But I'm just saying it could happen. Um, and he has every right to do it too. That's the funny part. We really gave this man like a couple $1 billion, and he could just walk away, and But anywho, he forcing people to use his product. He's saying, "I'm the only product in town. If you want to use this new blockchain." And we know how people love new things. I talked about it in my other video. People love new things. It don't matter what it is. Go to your McDonald's and let them have a new menu, a new item on the menu. You're more likely going to try it. I don't care if you eat double quarter pounders every day. If they come through and they're like, "Hey, we got a double quarter pounder with spicy cheese instead of regular cheese," just because it's new, you would try it. That's just how it goes. Folks love new things. As much as we love doing things our way, we love new things also. It's kind of like an oxymoron or whatnot. And that's why they come out with all these new things for us to buy. It's consumerism. There is actually an interesting YouTube web series called The History of Stuff, and they break down how consumerism is a science, how they come out with these new things every year. It's the same thing as the previous year with just a slight design change. And people go out and they trample people on Black Fridays and stuff like that because they know that folks love new things. What makes you think this is going to be any different? What makes you think that folks are not salivating at the mouth to be the first ones into a blockchain, to be the first ones into a layer one, into a DEX? What makes you think that? People are. Trust me. Just on speculation value alone, people are like, if I can get into this now, and if it gets half as big as Ethereum, if it gets half as big as PancakeSwap, if it gets half as big as Uniswap, I came out like a rat locked in a cheese factory. That's what's happening. And this is why we can't underestimate that there's a real chance that Pulse X can outperform Pulse Chain. People don't believe things can happen until they actually happen. People believed that a 4 minute mile was impossible until the first person broke the 4 minute mile, and then everybody started breaking 4 minute miles after that. Because for whatever reason, there was some kind of barrier, invisible barrier that said, no, you cannot run this fast. You cannot keep up this level of endurance this long. And then it happened. So just know that while people are out here, I mean, I think personally, if you're in both of them, you batting 1,000. You're in a great position. But don't think that this decentralized exchange can outperform this layer one. It could. And the reason why it could is because the innovation, because it's easier to understand, in my honest opinion, than it is Pulse Chain, even though I think Pulse Chain is also very easy to understand. But in exchange is even easier to understand too. Try talking about throughput and delegating to delegating your stakes to validators and stuff, and see the deer and headlight looks you get from people, and then tell them about, yeah, just go in there and single side staking, and you get a token that you can dump and go buy more of your favorite tokens for pennies on the dollar. We are living in a great time, and please let this come out and be good to go, and it's going to be all gravy. But that's all I got for y'all today. Keep it short and sweet, and like I usually try to do. Hopefully you're enjoying this content. I appreciate all the support I've been getting so far, and hopefully y'all look forward to the next video after this. Appreciate it. Holla at you. Be easy. Be safe.